Shwmae, sitachi croeso Chris Adowy, what is cracking, ladies, gents, boys, girls, lits, Waldun, Gardner, and anyone else, I don't know. Today we're talking about L'Academy, written by R.C. Waldun. Now, if you're not from Lit, you might not know what L'Academy is. I think Waldun has a YouTube channel. You might know the book from his YouTube channel. I personally don't watch booktubers on YouTube. I think he's a booktuber. I don't really know what I watch. It's all just weird stuff. But yeah, it's basically this book that was it's either shilled or memed on. It's either or. It depends on the time of day, I suppose, on Lit, the literature board from 4chan. And yeah, so I thought, well, the cover's pretty aesthetic. I like the cover. Let's jump in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm always up for supporting some self-publishing authors. It depends on the book, obviously. Although saying that, you know, I'm willing to give any book a try. You know, I'm just a sucker for reading. I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's about it, really. That's enough backstory. There's not really a whole lot, you know. Whereas the Horus Call series tends to get memed on and shilled on an awful lot, and it's sort of this horrible little meme on Lit. Waldun's just sort of crept under the radar. He's got a lot of haters, I think, but the book isn't half bad. And obviously with this video, I'm not going to be attacking Waldun. I'm not going to be saying anything bad about him personally. If there's an element of writing that I don't like in the book, then it's an element of writing that I don't like in the book. It's not a reflection of Waldun's character himself. I just don't believe in attacking authors, in all honesty, especially self-publishing authors who maybe lack the confidence to keep going at it, you know what I mean? I don't want to kill someone's dreams. And before I get into this, obviously, because it's a book recommended by Lit, I've purchased copies of Hunger of the Kangaroo, Reptilian Odyssey, and Jigoku by Gardner, so those videos are going to be coming up at some point. Once I've read them, I might just read them all in a day. I don't know, I don't really care. So yeah, L'Academy. Oh, and before I forget, this video, I don't know if this is going to be a very long video, guys. It's going to be quite a short one, hopefully, anyway. But, so, L'Academy. Let's read the back of the book. So, it says, a recent breakthrough in neuroprogramming allows students to learn anything simply by wearing a headset for a few hours a day. This new technology gives rise to L'Academy, a school in District E dictated to educating the citizens. Eddington is just like any other student, going through the motions to graduate beyond the wall, but soon an encounter with a stranger and reoccurring dreams rupture his stable perceptions of the regime. So the back of the book introduces us to Eddington. Now Eddington is very much the main character, and I have a creeping suspicion that he is a self-insert. The way he's described sounds very much like the author himself. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, you know, it's just interesting. And we're introduced to L'Academy, District E. It implies that there's districts. There are districts. It's like a dystopian kind of future. And we're introduced to the regime. Now, if you have a sneaking suspicion that the regime just so happens to be quite sinister and dictatorial, then yeah, they are. It's very obvious that they're bad guys. And that's one of the biggest downfalls. I'm going to get into this, but something I want to say quickly is that for the most part, every single twist and reveal has been heavily telegraphed to you a page or two in advance. So when you actually have the reveal, it's not that impactful. But yeah, let's talk about Eddington. Now, like I said, Eddington is very much a self-insert, and he dresses like David Tennant from Doctor Who. Is that bad? No, not really, but one of the weird things is that Eddington is a bit of a nerd. He's a bit of a dweeb, which is endearing. I quite like that. I quite like Eddington as a character. There is a weird part in the final third of the book where he gets absolutely wasted by some light BDSM play. I'm not going to describe it too much because it is going to spoiler territory. So that's a little bit weird. It's sort of like in Call of the Crocodile when Joe just chugs a can of Bud Light whilst making tense eye contact with his son in the middle of a crowded theme park. It's just one of those things that I don't think the authors themselves have much experience with, so they sort of fumbled a bit. It is what it is. It's just a bit of weak writing, that's all. It's funny, but yeah, it's funny. So Eddington, he's very much like he's a rebel. He's going up against the regime. He's going up against he's sticking up to the man. He's going up against the patriarchy. And if I had to describe Eddington, I'd say he's very much an NPC who realizes he's an NPC and he's an NPC in a game that he doesn't want to play. There are other characters, but it's very much a case of Eddington is the main character and the other characters are just NPCs. You know, you have Ada, who's just there to be Eddington's love interest, and all I can remember of her really is that he falls in love with her the very moment he sees her, as if he's never seen a woman before. And she's really just characterized by being cute, and that's about it. She's just a cute girl. There's not much depth to her. She's just cute, and she's a love interest. That's about it. Now, two characters that interact. They interact with Eddington through Ada, through him meeting Ada, and these two characters are Fred and Joe. Fred and Joe are I got the impression that they're homeless and they are gay lovers. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's nice to see a bit of LGBT representation. And yeah, the only downside is Joe. If you've read Wuthering Heights, you'll know how unbearable Joseph is because of the way his dialogue is written. Joe falls to that same curse in which, instead of the author writing that he speaks with a heavy southern accent or whatever the accent is, his dialogue is written as he would say it, and it's really, really annoying. Really, really annoying. The other characters, you got Archer, who's like this mysterious rogue, kind of homeless person. All the homeless people in this are rogues. And Tom, who's a bit of a douche, who Eddington meets in the cafe. Who, yeah, he's a bit of a douche. Didn't really like Tom. There's not really a whole lot to say about Tom. So the setting of the academy is very reminiscent of maybe a university campus kind of thing, and it really is just a university campus. And you have these prefects running around, and they're very much dressed like the bad guys from World War II. Not going to say their names because I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, and I don't want to be punished for saying that they were nasties. But yeah, they're dressed like those guys, and they're quite creepy. They're very much NPCs, but they are very much like powerful NPCs who can drop you in a lot of trouble. So I really like the setting. If you look at the cover of the book, it's very aesthetic. It's just cheap, no, not cheap, bland, simplistic. It's very nice though. It's appeasing to the eyes. And Waldun has this fantastic ability to actually like paint a really nice picture of the setting in your mind. And the setting, the cover is very reminiscent of the actual settings in the book. They're all very minimalistic, quite sleek, quite pleasant to the eye, quite cool colours. I love that. I did actually love that. But the setting, it doesn't really leave the academy. They don't leave the academy and head off to Chicago to find Pete and Sam with his Hawaiian t-shirt. It's like a self-enclosed story, if that makes sense. So you might be wondering, well, what actually is the story about? Well, like I said, Eddington finds out that he's an NPC in a game that he does not want to play. He starts having, I think it's called the cross, where he just starts going a bit weird, and everyone's like, well, you need to get your earbuds checked out, bro. So he's like, oh, this isn't really my thing. He meets Ada, who introduces him to the rogues. Now the rogues are sort of like, I want to say communists. They're rebellious. They want to go up against the regime. And the regime, as the name would imply, are very dictatorial. They are the bad guys. And that's really it. So you have Eddington helping out the good guys, take down the bad guys. And that's about it. And this is really the thing. This is why the video isn't going to be very long, because the story is... oh, it's annoying, because I wanted it to be so good. I wanted it to be a very long story that's very deep, very intricate, but it's not. It's very like a service level. It's sort of like, you know, if you play Skyrim and there's like those wars where you have to either play as the Stormcloaks fighting the Imperials or the Imperials fighting the Stormcloaks, and you just sort of expect it to be really nitty and gritty, but you sort of run out and then you're just like flailing your sword at like 5 enemy soldiers, and then they ragdoll, a bunch of your guys get game overed. It's very like, it's just quite shallow. And this is the thing, maybe there is a bit of depth to this, but it's not fully expanded. And the reason it's not fully expanded, in my honest opinion, is because the book is too short. The book is too short. Because the ending is quite rushed, and it feels really rushed. And there's like 20 to 30 pages before the ending where Eddington is floating in and out of consciousness. And it's done quite poorly, it's done quite weakly. You can sort of grasp what's happening, but it's confusing. You have to sort of actually use your 2 brain cells. And for me, that's very taxing. You know, I'm not an intelligent man. So, you know, when I've sat there trying to figure out what's actually happening, boys, it's annoying. I think with like 100 extra pages, Waldun could have easily had it out the end then, tied up some loose ends, and just made it a whole lot better. I don't know, maybe if he was on time frame. I don't really, like, in all honesty, the book it's a decent read. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's bad because of this. The book is a decent read, it's a decent story. I would recommend it if it's your sort of thing. You know, for me, I'm more into horror, so obviously this book isn't a horror book. But I think it really needed an extra few pages to actually flesh out the ending, to sort of pad out that weird part where he's falling in and out of consciousness, and maybe expand upon Eddington's first time with BDSM, because it was done in a way where even I, as somebody who hasn't been tortured, well, hopefully I'm never going to be tortured, even I know that that's not how you react to it. In the same way that Eddington cannot take a punch. You don't have to be a trained UFC fighter to take a punch. Eddington didn't need to be on death's door after taking a punch. And it was just weird. The writing there was a bit weak, but you know, it is what it is. Everybody has their moments when the writing's a bit weak. It's sort of like when Stephen King had his moments in his older books where he just sort of goes off on a tangent about weird things. Because, for instance, I read Carrie, and there's this weird section, and as much as I love the book, there is this weird section where Carrie starts like touching herself, not explicitly like that, but it's leading up to that. It's like, bro, did this really need to be in the book? And the answer is no, it did not need to be in the book. And this is it. Everybody has their times when they have weak writing, and you know, it does its job. I personally didn't like it though. But yeah, the story is very much the good guys versus the bad guys, and all the sort of reveals and twists are telegraphed to you quite early on. So when you actually confront those twists, you're like, oh, I expected you. There is like a nice little twist at the end, like a nice reveal that's like, oof. It's how would I describe it without spoiling it? It's bleak, and I love that. My goodness, I absolutely love that. I love like dystopias where it's just bleak. Sort of like in Fallout 3, where you live out your life in the vault and it's alright. Like you beat up that kid who's trying to steal your sweet roll. You come out of the vault and it's just bleak. You're surrounded by death and danger and horrible people. I love that. I absolutely love that. You know, if I had to pick something other than horror, I'd totally be reading this kind of book. And that's the thing, this book is actually quite good. It sort of establishes that it's a dystopian world run by dictators, and these prefects are sort of running around quite creepily, taking people in. They're confiscating double rods. Now, double rods are stuff that sort of interfere with the regime's programming, such as books, and I suppose literature in general, anything that just interferes. It's like music would. And what you find is that they censor words. There's like a censorship on, I suppose, free speech and free thoughts. Because there's a part in the book where Eddington is saying that he unlikes the prefects. And unfortunately, because I've read a lot of Gardner's work, my first instinct was to assume that the guy just wrote the wrong words, and I didn't think that, you know, oh, this isn't the right word. No, I think it's because Eddington just genuinely doesn't know the word, but it's not explained that Eddington doesn't know the word. I think that was maybe a mistake. You know, I don't think it was a mistake, but I think it should have been explained that Eddington didn't know the words to comprehend how he was feeling. But he does eventually use the right words towards the end of the book. So far I've been quite positive about the book. I think I've hyped it up a bit. I want to sort of maybe put some criticisms in there, some cons, along with the pros, because I don't want to just be hyping this book up and then like giving you a false message, a false version, a false expectation of what to expect. So with this book, if you come from Lit and you've read any of Gardner's books for the memes, you're going to find that Gardner's writing style is quite campy, quite fun, even though he doesn't really know how to use a comma. This one isn't campy, it's not fun, it's very grounded, it's very dry. And by that I mean, it's going to say Eddington walked to the door, whereas in Gardner's book it'll say Peter minced towards the door as his thighs rubbed against each other and his spandex shorts squeaked. And it is what it is. It is what it is. You can't really complain. The writing's decent. The writing in this book, in my opinion, is a bit better than Gardner's. Not to compare the two, not to say that Gardner's bad. I just think Waldun is maybe the stronger writer. I think the book is pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, I suppose another downside has to be Fred and Joe's relationship. Now, I read the book 100% just under the assumption that the two were lovers. But it's never really explained, despite there being strong hints. Now, I don't mean that it needs to be explicitly said, but I think that it's ambiguous unintentionally. And then Fred, as a character himself, he becomes this annoying one-trick pony towards the end. And then Joe's dialogue, I don't know, I feel a bit weird about the way it's written. I don't know if it's okay. You know, it's kind of one of those things where if the wrong person sees it, they could say the wrong thing, maybe. It's not like awful. It's not like Joseph from Wuthering Heights, where you just zone out and don't actually acknowledge anything he says. I'm sort of glad that Joe seemingly disappears from the story. I'm not going to spoil anything, because his dialogue was just annoying to read, guys. Yeah, you know, the cons really are far and few between. The pros, generally speaking, the story's just genuinely pretty good. The cover's pretty good. The writing's pretty good. The absolute real downside to the story is that the ending feels really rushed. Like, the last third felt really rushed. And I'm not sure if it's because maybe Waldun needed to find a way to just end the story, because he was like, okay guys, I'm kind of bored now. But yeah, the ending felt really rushed, and that's why I said that I think with another 100 pages, this book could easily go from being a 3-star to me to maybe a 4 or 4.5. And yeah, don't look at my Goodreads reviews, because I'm very generous with them. And then I was like, oh, I put my cursor over the star, and I realized that 3 stars, just I liked it, and I did. I liked this book. You know, it's a decent book. It's not an awful book. It's nice to support a self-publishing author at the end of the day also, you know, and I don't mind purchasing the book. I heard that Waldun was thinking about taking the book down. I'm not sure if it has been taken down. Honestly, man, if you yourself are watching this video, keep your book up, because it's a decent read, guy. It's a decent read. So I'm running out of things to say, so I guess I'm just gonna sum up this. I suppose it's a review, a cheek chat. Is the book good? It's good. It's a good book, and I think it's worth reading if you are interested in self-publishing authors. If you maybe go on 4chan, on Lit, if you even know about Waldun, if you're one of his subscribers and you haven't purchased the book, it's honestly pretty good. It's a decent book. The guy can write, and he can write pretty well, in all honesty. Hats off to the guy. But yeah, I don't really know if there's anything bad to say about it. You know, no, Eddington, because obviously that he's a self-insert. Eddington has his moments where he comes off as a bit of a pseudo-intellectual, but, you know, everyone has those times. You know, if somebody mentions, I don't know, pigs. I don't know why pigs. I love pigs, but I don't know anything about them. Yeah, you know, I'll be like, oh, did you know you can unkill a pig's tail and it'll just spring back? Do I sound like a suit? Probably. Who cares? It's just fun. So yeah, I recommend this book. I reckon you should. If it's your kind of thing, if you like dystopian sci-fi, is it sci-fi? Is it just the fi? Pick it up. It's a good read. It is honestly a good read. It's not a lot. It's nothing like Gardner's writing. Gardner's writing is quite sloshy, whereas this is quite dry. When you read Gardner's writing, when you read Gardner's work, the foreplay has already been carried out. You're not going in dry. With this one, you are. That's about it. So, if you watched this far into the video, I just want to say thanks, guys. It actually means a lot. You know, I enjoy doing videos on books from Lit. You know, Moby Dick is mentioned quite a lot, and then you got like the Greek classics. I honestly don't mind sitting down and reading one of these books, and maybe I'll probably do it in like 3 sit-ins and doing a video on it. I'm not really interested in things that aren't horror at the moment, but you know, heck it, there's something doing it. So yeah, like I said, thanks guys. It actually does mean a fair bit, because obviously the Fighting Fantasy videos are very niche, and I'm getting what, like 6 views. But then I do these, and then I get over 100, and it's lovely. It's such a nice feeling. You guys are actually keeping me going. It's lovely. So yeah, thanks. Hopefully you're gonna be here for the Horrors Call videos, because I got 3 more to make. So yeah, hopefully you have a lovely time. Hopefully all your problems have very simple solutions and you get yourself out of them. Hopefully life goes really well.